Hey, Joanne, is it better to buy or rent?
Great question. Thanks for joining us for another edition of Coffee with Tom and Joanne. I'm Joanne Taranto.
And I'm Tom Matthews. And one saying that Joanne has coined that is 100% correct is that renting is 100% interest.
Mm-hmm.
But are there times when it's better to rent versus buy? So, Joanne,
Totally.
okay.
I mean, I think that this all depends on what your personal situation is. Renting when you move to a new geography. So if you're moving from out of state or out of the country, I think renting can be a great option to give you a short-term vision of the area that you're relocating to and give you a sense of the towns. And then if you have children in the schools, get to test drive the schools before you commit to living in one location.
Right. I mean, we talk also transition. Sometimes the families getting divorced. And when we're working with someone going through that transition, we oftentimes say rent. Make sure that you're comfortable with your life situation. Renting temporarily. Everyone always says, but I'm just throwing money away. And we say, well, I mean, that's one way to look at it. The other way to look at it is you're giving yourself flexibility.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you rent, your lease is up in 12 months. You have so much flexibility. You don't have additional cost. Because if you buy a property and you're unhappy in that property, you have to bring us back to sell the property and we have to charge a fee.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's fees, there are transfer taxes, there are
Mm-hmm.
all kinds of fees associated with buying and selling real estate. And it's really important to kind of be cognizant of that because buying, you put 20% down on a property and you buy something and 18 months later, you don't like it. You're going to be paying money depending. The market could be level, could be down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of things to really be focused on when trying to decide if buying or renting is better.
Yeah, so I wouldn't give renting a bad rap. There are plenty of rental communities around
Right.
here. They're kind of like all in. They'll include, they've got a little gym and office space and whatnot. And, it gives you the option to basically test drive the area that you're moving to. Because what we've found is that sometimes, depending on where you're moving from, people might come into this area and realize that the cost of living is much higher than where they've come from. The cost to get services is much higher. The cost for gasoline is higher. And when you think about those day-to-day costs of living, you may decide, hey, I'm pre-approved to spend this, but I really can't go to the top of my budget or don't want to go near the top of my budget because I'm concerned about the day-to-day living expenses, the cost of groceries, the tuition for private school. All of these things come into play. And by renting, you give yourself a little bit of time to adjust to the cost of living.
Now, long term, we are real estate agents. We love helping people buy and sell homes. And we think long term, owning a property is a great financial decision because it gives you the opportunity to build equity. So equity is the difference between what you owe the bank and what you can sell the house for. And typically we find that equity position is a top 5 asset for many American families. And so it's so often we meet with people and they say, mom and dad bought this house 40, 50 years ago. It's paid off. We've inherited it. And now we have a chunk of change that's an asset that we didn't think we were going to have. And if mom and dad had rented all those years, 60 years of renting, there would be no asset. You would have nothing left. You'd have nothing to show for. And so we're always trying to balance and kind of thread that needle between renting and buying. And people ask, is it okay to rent? And we say, yes, it has its place.
Yes.
But ultimately, owning a property, particularly if you're going to own it for the long term, for 15 to 30 years, is where the magic can really happen in real estate.
Yeah. And I think that having that long-term vision, the more clear you are on what your long-term vision is, the more sure we are that buying real estate is the right thing to do. But if you're coming into the area, you have a new job, you're not sure how you're going to feel about your new boss, your team, all of that, you may want to give yourself the flexibility that if you start in that job and you feel uncomfortable or it's not working out for you, you haven't then gone and bought a piece of real estate and kind of tied yourself down to one location.
Right.
So definitely options out there. The long-term goal is owning real estate is excellent. If you lead a very transient lifestyle, you can still be successful in buying and selling real estate. You just need to be cognizant when you buy in that you could be relocated at a moment's notice and will need to resell that property.
Right. So this was just another quick example of buying versus selling. And thank you for watching another edition of Coffee with Tom and Joanne. I'm Tom Matthews.
And I'm Joanne Taranto. Cheers.